Hey guys, Creator Mom. Happy Tuesday. So yesterday I was in this city called Covington, and I would kind of compare it to, I don't know, maybe like Newark, New Jersey in a way. Like it just it has it's pretty big, I guess. And the special interesting thing about this city is that it has like many different little communities that have specific names. Like, what's another name I'm looking for? Like it literally has like different sections. Like there's different sections of Covington that have different names. Like legitimately, like what is one? Seminary Square. There's many different names. I can't remember them all. There's probably like 6 or 7 of them. I'd have to check. But yeah, there it has different little sections, and yeah. So like any other city, or kind of like any other city, it has its like more impoverished, is that the right way to say it, like areas, like ghetto areas. I don't know, ghetto is the word I used when I was growing up. Like, I know that that's probably not the most appropriate, because I know ghettos can also refer to you know what happened in like the day of Hitler and all that stuff, like ghettos. But yeah, so it has its more like impoverished areas where you see like a lot more, where like the mental illness and homelessness or whatever is a lot more like exposed. You can like see it. It's not really hard to tell. You can feel it. I don't know, I feel it. I feel the oppression or the darkness, and I don't even know if darkness is the right way to use it, just to say it. It's just, you feel the vibe, man. You feel the vibe, and it doesn't feel good. It feels very yucky. And I think it's us, it's people who create the vibration of the city, of the town. It's not like the town itself. But I was thinking about different see, every time I go into these areas, it always gets me spinning my wheels and thinking about all of this. I don't know why. It's just, but if you ask the church, they'll say like or maybe other spiritual people will say this too, that believe in like the demonic and stuff like that, and the demonic in the spiritual realm. They'll say there's like demons or principalities over these areas where there's a lot of poverty and mental illness and homelessness. I don't know, right? So because, and then, so the reason I'm saying this is because, like, yeah, I was getting my car looked at in one area of Covington, and it was that type of area. Me and my son, I mean, it wasn't that bad. Like, there wasn't like, it didn't look like very dangerous on the streets, but you could feel it. So we decided to take a walk, and we walked through other areas of Covington that were very cute, very, nice, and you didn't feel that feeling as much, and it's always more pleasant to be in those areas, because who wants to live in an area that has that other vibe? Like, if you're not in that vibe, if you're not carrying that inside of you, you're not going to feel comfortable there. It's just going to feel gross. And that's not to say the people are gross. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the vibration is gross. So, but I'm familiar with it, being that, my whole life, like, I mean, I worked in social services in a way, and I did, like, when I did go to church, the ministry that I did join was the homeless ministry. So I'm familiar with being around such things and such environments or such vibrations. So then I was thinking about, like, people, then other people say, oh, it's the world system. It's the system that we live in that creates this poverty and oppresses people, and so that people cannot, like, this is a result of the system. This unfair system that creates that, right? But then you're like, well, what separates people? What gets people living in different environments? rather than living or being in that environment, you know? And then you have some that say, like if you go to school for social work, they'll say it's like inequality. It's because white people have too much money, and like other people that are not white don't have a lot of money, and they're subjected to this inequality, and that's what produces these results in these areas or whatever. And then you have people that say like it's the mindset. It's what people believe. It's their vibration that creates this atmosphere, that it creates this poverty, and all of this stuff. It always just makes me think. I was sitting in this cathedral little, these Catholic churches, they have these little areas where you could sit. There was this nice fountain, and they had these benches. And I know that homeless people probably sit around there. My point is I was sitting there just taking a break with my son from walking, and this guy walked past on the sidewalk. I looked back and I seen him coming, but he was like maybe 8 feet away from me or something. But I turned back around to face the fountain, and I could tell when he walked past because I smelled him, and it definitely is not a preconceived notion, because when I saw him, I didn't suspect that I would smell him. I didn't suspect that he was homeless. He didn't necessarily like look homeless or whatever. But as he walked past, I smelled him. I could smell him from 8 feet away. And it's the homeless / like mental illness smell. And if you know, then you just know what I'm talking about, because I've smelled that working around or being around individuals who are homeless, and also in my job too, working around people who were who had mental illness. You smell that smell. It's almost like a wet, I can't describe the smell. Like I said, if you know, you just know it. And it was weird because before that, when me and my son were in a different area, we took a break to sit on a stoop, and it was in a nicer little neighborhood. It was fine. But as I was sitting there, that smell was coming to me, and I couldn't see. I started to detect it, and I was like, I looked around, I didn't see nobody, but it could have been coming from this house across the street or something like that. But I just thought it was interesting how I was attuned to the smell, and I knew the smell, and I'm like, okay, it's like a wet, sweaty smell. It smells really bad. Yeah. So I just thought, wow, that's interesting, Yeah. So I think that, and I was thinking about this on my drive back home, and I was reminded of that movie Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer. And that movie came out when I was a teenager or whatever, a tween. And I love the part in the movie where she goes, you have a choice. She was trying to tell these kids, like, they have a choice, But the girl was like, you think we have a choice? And I could see where the girl, the teenager, was coming from, to say, you think we have a choice? Like, of course, like, she's like saying, well, we're not adults, like, we don't have a choice, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're subjected to this shit, we're born into this shit, we have to survive in this shit. So yeah, it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I think the chicken, because when kids are born into that vibe, into that energy, it's the only thing that they know. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's possible some people and some kids can detect from young that that's not what they want, and that's not who they are, and that they're going to be different, and they're going to get out of that oppression, they're going to get out of that vibration. But yeah, when a child is born to a specific environment, it could be very difficult for them to think that they could be anything otherwise or act anything otherwise or have anything otherwise. And I wouldn't necessarily even, I would not blame them, right? But then it's like we grow up and we come to a certain point where we really, I'm not even going to say we could even really make a choice at that point, because I honestly believe that we do need to be awakened spiritually to that fact. Like, we need to be awakened spiritually to our power, and to the fact that we can choose our state, we can choose poverty, we can choose wealth. And I say that right now, like, and I'm talking to myself, but, and it seems hard. It seems like, well, how can I choose that? I don't understand. I don't understand. You can choose it internally, and we have to, when we awaken internally, that's why it's like Christ in you, the hope of glory. Jesus, or Christ, rises up inside of you, the new man is born. That's why when people use the term born again, because you literally do feel like you've been born again. You have been born internally. You have come alive inside. Things are different. You see the world differently. You feel like you have power for the first time. Not power over people, but power inside of yourself, for yourself, that you can use for yourself, to get yourself out of that state. You're like, oh, you realize, oh, I don't have to have that mindset anymore. I don't have to have those beliefs of where I grew up at or the environment that I was in. I don't want that for my life anymore. I want something different. And you realize that you get to choose internally another path. And that's a lot of power. So, and then God backs you up on that. That's even more exciting. God, or, people use the word universe, which I don't like. The Creator backs you up now on your new state, on what you believe yourself to be, because you receive what you believe. And this is when you're born again, when you come alive spiritually, that's when you come into yourself. You come in, you step into your power, you step into your authority. When we're born into this world and born into specific environments, we don't know we have that power necessarily. Or maybe some of us do, like as little children. I find that kids that get saved or come into spirituality as children, sometimes they go through difficulty as teenagers, it seems like, and they almost forget their power. I kind of noticed that a little bit. But yeah, you step into your power, you realize you have a choice. And not only that, you realize what you believe you receive, right? And what you believe they're going to be given. And it starts to get exciting, and it starts to get very full of hope, when you awaken to God, essentially, when you awaken to God inside of you, to the fact that you awaken to your oneness with God and Christ. So all that to say, social services is good and all. They're good for some surface level stuff, but they are not going to touch on the spiritual level, the deeper level, to people and to problems and communities that get into levels that they can't understand. They're not allowed to touch, because social services is the world system. They're not there to talk about spirituality and deeper beliefs. I mean, they may touch on it a little bit, like, hey, let's make people feel like there's hope and that they can change, but they're not going to talk about God, But yeah, they can't. They want to solve the poverty problem. They want to bring more equality to disadvantaged communities and stuff like that, which is good. It's good. I love the resources that we have in our world system, in our world. But if the underlying issue never changes, it's just going to be like a cycle of the same problem, in a way. I was thinking about my own life and like how the person I ended up marrying, kind of the outline of him resemble my stepfather. And I just think that's just so creepy, I'm just like, it's just like the patterns and shit like that of the mind that go almost like undetected. You don't even, it's almost like you don't even know it's operating, like the trauma patterns or whatever, until you like reflect on it and look back and you're like, that's so weird, you know? That is so weird. I want to learn more about that, the trauma, like repatterning, because it's interesting if that can happen even on like a subconscious level, like even things about your parents' life and how you grew up that say you didn't necessarily say you wanted, but then they like show up in your life and you're like, what the hell? This is weird, you know? Anyways, that's all I wanted to share for today. Yeah, being in those areas always makes me think about this topic. You know, it's just, or, oh yeah, I used to go to church in Orange, right? Orange, New Jersey. It's almost like a line, right? Orange, you get that vibration. It's just that like impoverished, like dark, oppressive, like vibe. It's like, oh, I would hate, like I wouldn't want to live around here, you know? And then I swear, you step into West Orange, like the block that says this is West Orange, everything changes. It's like a completely different vibration on this block. I go to this block, it's a different vibe in Orange. It's like a line, you know? And West Orange is beautiful. There's bigger houses. It just feels better. Yo, it's just like point blank, where there's no money and poverty, you know, things feel bad. And where there's like more money and people are well and things feel better. That's just on a kindergarten, you know, level right there. So we can help and help and help people, and it doesn't mean anything's gonna change, you know? And that's one thing that I noticed, like, that I didn't like about working in mental health. It was just like, you can help people all day long and nothing's gonna change. Like, it's just gonna be the same thing day in and day out, day in and day out. And I didn't like that, you know? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I like imagine being a therapist and you see the same person week in and week out, week in and week out. They never change. They always talk about the same things. They're not even doing homework. They're not bringing you anything when they come to therapy. They're not bringing you any, you know, journaling that they've done or insights that they've had. Like, shit. That's probably, like, boring as fuck. You know? And it's just like, But I've heard of therapists that they don't settle for that. They're just like, if you want to hire me, like, you have to do the work. And that's because even though they're going to pay for their time, they don't want their time wasted, you know, on people who aren't really serious about making their life better. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful Tuesday. Bye.